Life is full of crossroads moments where we must choose not only what is fair, but what is right. Sometimes those two paths look the same, but often they don't. And when they don't, the difference between them comes down to one simple word: mercy. You see, justice is about balance, about order, about making sure the rules of society are respected. But mercy, that comes from the heart. Mercy is where fairness meets humanity. Mercy is when we look past the mistake and see the person who made it. And I'll tell you something I've learned through the years. Act of mercy can change a lifetime. When people hear those words, they often think of big, dramatic moments, a pardon, a second chance, a life saved at the very brink. But most of the time, mercy is quieter than that. It's in the everyday decisions we make about how we treat each other. It's in a teacher who sees a struggling student and chooses encouragement instead of criticism. It's in a parent who listens with patience instead of anger. It's in a stranger who offers a smile when someone else expects judgment. And yes, sometimes it's in a courtroom. When the law says one thing, the heart recognizes another. Let me share with you the story of a young man who stood before a judge on what seemed like a very ordinary case. On the surface, it was just another traffic violation. A red light run on a rainy morning, nothing unusual. Courts see dozens like it every day. But behind that slip of paper, behind that charge, was a story. This young man was not reckless, not careless, not someone who thought the rules didn't apply to him. He was a son trying to hold together what little he had. His mother depended on him, and his job was the only thread keeping their lives from unraveling. He couldn't afford to miss another day. That morning, he had no bus fare. He had already walked miles on other days just to make it in time. But the rain was heavy, and the clock was against him. Desperation whispered in his ear, and he borrowed an old car from a friend. The brakes were faulty, and in his rush, he ran the light. The police officer did his duty. The ticket was issued. And so here he stood, in front of the bench with his future hanging on what seemed like a small case. The law was clear. The fine was set. And yet, as the judge listened, something in the young man's words rang true. He didn't make excuses. He didn't try to twist the story. He simply said, "I couldn't afford to lose that job. My mother needs me." Those words, spoken with quiet sincerity, carried more truth than all the paperwork in the world. The judge could have imposed the full fine. He could have reminded the young man that laws must be followed. But instead, he chose a different path. He reduced the penalty, made it manageable, and then looked him in the eye and said, "I'm giving you this mercy not because you broke the law, because I believe you're trying to do the right thing." That one act of mercy, given in a moment, planted a seed. Years later, the young man returned, no longer desperate, no longer struggling to survive day to day. He stood taller with gratitude in his voice and said, "That day saved my life, not because the fine was smaller, but because someone believed in him. Because someone saw more than a mistake, they saw potential, and that belief gave him the strength to keep going, to keep fighting, to build something better." That's the power of mercy. It takes a moment that could have broken a person and turns it into a turning point instead. Mercy doesn't erase responsibility. It elevates it. It says, "I trust you enough to do better." And most of the time, when people are given that trust, they rise to meet it. Now, you may be thinking, that's just one story. But stories like that happen every day, if we're willing to look for them. A business owner once discovered that one of his employees had made a costly mistake. The easy choice would have been to fire her, to cut his losses and move on. But instead, he called her into his office, explained the error, and then said, "I'm not letting you go. I believe you can learn from this." That employee, instead of being crushed by shame, was lifted by trust. She went on to become his most loyal and hardworking team member. One act of mercy turned failure into growth and loss into loyalty. Mercy is not weakness. Let me be very clear about that. Mercy takes strength. It's easy to be harsh, easy to dismiss, easy to turn away. What's hard is to hold someone accountable while still holding out your hand. What's hard is to say, "Yes, you made a mistake. I will not define you by this moment." Mercy requires courage. It requires vision. It requires the belief that people can change, that they can learn, that they can rise. And let me ask you this. Haven't we all been on the receiving end of mercy at some point in our lives? Think back. Maybe it was a teacher who gave you another chance to submit that assignment. Maybe it was a boss who overlooked your first slip up. Maybe it was a friend who forgave you when you didn't deserve it. Each of those moments gave you space to be better, to grow, to move forward. If those people had chosen punishment instead, how different would your life look today? That's why I say mercy can change a lifetime. It doesn't just change the one who receives it. It changes the one who gives it. When you choose mercy, you discover a deeper strength within yourself. You realize that true justice is not cold or rigid, but alive and human. And you find that the satisfaction of lifting someone up is far greater than the satisfaction of pushing them down. Think of it like this: justice is the letter of the law, but mercy is the spirit of humanity. Both are needed. Without justice, society falls into chaos. Without mercy, society falls into cruelty. But together they create balance. Together they create a world where rules protect us. Compassion guides us. There's a story of an officer who stopped a man for running a stop sign. By all accounts, the man deserved a ticket. But when the officer leaned in, he saw the exhaustion in the man's eyes. The man explained he had worked the night shift, barely slept, and was on his way to his second job. The officer had a choice: write the ticket or write a moment of understanding. He chose the latter, giving the man a warning instead, and with it, a bit of grace. That small decision may have spared that man more than a fine. It may have given him the dignity to keep pressing forward without the crushing weight of another setback. We can't underestimate these small acts. A smile, a word of encouragement, a second chance. They may seem tiny, but to the person receiving them, they can mean everything. Mercy doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. And yet, its impact can last a lifetime. I want you to imagine the ripple effect. When you show mercy to one person, they often carry it forward. They become more likely to show kindness to someone else. That kindness multiplies, passing from person to person, shaping a community, shaping a culture. One seed of mercy can grow into a forest of compassion. That's how powerful it is. So what's the lesson here? It's that justice and mercy are not opposites. They are partners. Justice ensures fairness. Mercy ensures humanity. And when you combine them, you get something far greater than either one alone. You get true healing. You get transformation. Every one of us has the power to do this. You don't need a courtroom or a badge or a title. All you need is the willingness to pause, to look past the surface, to see the person behind the mistake. And when you do, remember this truth: one act of mercy can change a lifetime. Because in the end, people will not remember you for the rules you enforced. They will remember you for the hope you gave. They will not recall the punishments you handed down. They will recall the moments you chose to believe in them. That is the legacy mercy leaves. That is the gift only compassion can give. So the next time life places you in a position to judge, whether it's in your home, your workplace, or your community, ask yourself, do I want to punish, or do I want to heal? Do I want to close a door or open one? Because mercy is not just about changing someone else's life. It's about changing your own. It's about walking away, knowing you chose the higher road, the kinder road, the road that leads not just to justice, but to peace. And that, my friends, is the heart of true justice. Mercy that gives someone the strength to stand again. Mercy that believes in a brighter tomorrow. Mercy that changes a lifetime.